Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. My name is Johan Abdul Razak from Badan Warisan Malaysia. And on behalf of Badan Warisan Malaysia, I would like to wish you a warm welcome to our talk today. And as you know, it is part of our Diverse Origins of Kuala Lumpur Talk Series, which is part of the KL Festival. So we are indeed quite honored today to have Dr. Sivachandralingam Sundara Raja to speak about Tamboosamy Pillay. Now, before I start, just a bit of background about this talk. Actually, in the first series, this was the talk that started us off. Actually, I used to work at Taman Tugu, so we used to hold talks, and somebody said, "What about Tamboosamy Pillay?" So that got us started, yes. So that got us started, and we got somebody to speak about. Sorry, is it too loud? Too loud. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay. So we have in the series. Sorry. Yeah. Abdullah Hukum and Chow Kit as well. Okay. So before we begin, just a bit of housekeeping. Just get a bit of the dry stuff out of the way. Before we end, we will have a QR code. So please give us a so that we know whether you like the talk and what sort of talks that you like us to. Yeah. And we have a QR code as well for donations to Badan Warisan Malaysia. We're trying to raise funds for the restoration of the Rumah Penghulu. There's also a QR code. So you can all hear me, right? Yeah. There's also a QR code for the KL Discovery Pass for the KL Festival, and do join us if you can. And a bit more housekeeping. We have our gift shop just at the back there, and the toilets are around at the back now. So I think Tamboosamy Pillay needs no introduction, and he was undoubtedly one of the early pioneers of Kuala Lumpur's development, and he played quite a central figure. So before I welcome Dr. Siva, just a bit of a quick introduction about Dr. Siva. He recently retired as the former head of Department of History at the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at the University of Malaya. And his main area of expertise is Malaysian economic history, but he also works on British imperial history in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And he's very modest, so he gave me a very short bio. And I was told that he's written no less than 10 books, and he counts among his contemporaries and his mentors, the late Prof. Khoo Kay Kim, who he worked closely, and even contemporaries like the late Prof. Ahmad Adam. So on that note, I would like to please give a warm welcome to Dr. Siva to deliver his talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johan. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Johan for inviting me to give a talk here. So actually, I've retired from the department 2024, and it has been quite some time. I've been giving talk. So I was telling him I don't know whether I can talk for long because you have retired. So this is the second time I've been invited to give a talk on a topic pertaining to history. Okay, can you hear me now? Oh, you want me to? Okay. The topic I'm going to talk today is about Tamboosamy Pillay. I'm sure that all of you. I would like to deal about Tamboosamy Pillay within the context. How far you can see Tamboosamy Pillay as an administrator, a capitalist, and philanthropist in 19th century Malaya. Okay, Before we move into that, I think uh, before we understand the role of Thamboosamy Pillai, I think we also need to understand the history of Kuala Lumpur at this time. I think you need to contextualize the position of Thamboosamy Pillai in order to understand how he became a significant personality in Kuala Lumpur. I think, as all of you know, 1874 is an important year in Malaysian history because that was the year where the British intervened in the state of Perak under the Pangkor Treaty. And then you find that Birch was killed, okay? Then after what happened after that? Then after that, you realize that there was a need to appoint state council, a state council where, the Malay captains, Chinese captain were invited to be a member. And there were also Malay aristocrats so that they could hear the grouses from the ground. Because the reason Birch was killed because he introduced a lot of laws that he could not understand, and then he was killed. Okay, so that was a lesson. And then in 1875, the year when Tamboosamy Pillai came to Kuala Lumpur, was the year where J.G. Jackson was the first resident of Selangor, 1875. That's an important year. And then 1880 is also another important year. That was a year where when the administration of Kuala Lumpur was transferred from Klang to Kuala Lumpur. Before that, Klang was the capital city of Selangor. Now it's Kuala Lumpur. Why Kuala Lumpur? Because Kuala Lumpur is seen as a place where more population keep on increasing. And then in 1886, railway was linked with from KL to Klang. When you have a railway, it clearly shows the town is developing. So these are the context you need to understand. And then some of you would like to know what are the number of population at this time. Actually, in 1870s, the population in Kuala Lumpur is only 4,000. In 1891, around 17,000. In 1900, 32,000. And Chinese was 72%. Okay, and Indians, 2 to 3,000. That's it. And what are the numbers of Europeans here? 170 to 190. Can you believe 170, 190 ruling 4,000 or 20,000 population in Kuala Lumpur? Okay, that's the backdrop one has to understand. And also, you also need to know in the 1870s, after intervention, the British already put laws in place. There's police force, land law, there's magistrate, that's PWD, public works department, etc. Everything was in place, and then this is where Tamboosamy came into play. So his position became important because within the context, he could speak English and all that, and then British made use of him to develop, or not so to develop, to bring, move forward Kuala Lumpur. Okay, the objective of this presentation is to study, to examine the role of, his full name is Karahohonam Tamboosamy Pillai. Okay, as administrator, capitalist, and philanthropist between 1874 and 1902. First, I think we have to, just I explained earlier, it was a context. Now again, we also need to understand Tamboosamy in the context of Kuala Lumpur history. You see, in the early days when the British came to Malaya, they were not dealing with the populations directly. They felt they have to deal with the leaders of the community. Here you have Tamboosamy Pillai, who could speak English, who is educated, highly educated, understand their language, who could mingle around, he behaves like a white man, so they find, he should use, and he could also speak Tamil. That's important to deal with the community. And the same thing goes with Jap Aloy, Lokyu, and Rajabod, a few other Malay aristocrats. These are people whom they felt they need to make use to communicate with the community in Kuala Lumpur. Okay? Yeah. Pardon? What? Yeah, they want Bandara Kuala Lumpur. Yes, yes. Yeah, it's forerunner of
KL. Earlier, that's what is known as sanitary board. It's also called as a local council. Okay. So, it was within this context that Thamboosamy Pillay, Yap Panseng, Raja Bot, and Raja Laut emerged as a community representative who conveyed British policy. They need that's why I was saying why it's important after the Birch was killed. They realized that the reason Birch was killed that they didn't understand the groundswell, the dissatisfaction of people down. So if you council, state council 1877 started in Selangor, you will listen to the groundswell. So the people like Yap Aloy, Yap Consent, they will convey. And also they need to implement laws and regulations, imposing of tax and all that. All these have to convey to the people. So therefore, can you hear me now? Okay, I'll continue. So this is the context. So they need to have these local leaders to be a spokesman for the British. So that's where you find Tamboosamy came into play, and then his role became important. Okay. So as I explained to you, through these community representatives, government policies such as obligation to pay taxes, maintain public hygiene, and obtain modern medical treatment at hospitals were communicated to the public. Okay, because at this time you find that when Kuala Lumpur was developed early days, they had a lot of sickness, like malaria, cholera, beriberi, etc. And then you find that locals, the Indian Chinese, they were not willing to go to hospital. Someone has to convince them. So this is where you find people like Tamboosamy Pillay will go down to the ground and explain. And also, he also told them that you better bring the police force along so that they'll be scared and then they will be willing to go to hospital. So in this way, when he did all this, it managed to control the spread of disease in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so that's the kind of role these people were doing. So the British administration in Kuala Lumpur did not implement any policies without consulting the local Chinese, Indian and Malay elites. Because this is an important point. Because they understood you have to deal with the locals before you implement any policy. So now we move to Tamboosamy Pillay. So Tamboosamy Pillay was born in Singapore in 1850. As you all know, Singapore has become a free port, and also, you could understood why Tamboosamy Pillay, but nothing much, because when I did research on early, his education background and all that, he didn't get much. Only thing that he studied in Raffles Institution, and then he worked with a law firm owned by James Guthrie Davidson, named Roach and Davidson as a clerk, and then he moved to Klang, because Klang was the center of administration of Selangor then. And then, as you know, as I mentioned earlier, it was J.G. Davidson who became the first resident of Selangor in 1875. And he only stayed 1 year. Then after that, it was taken over by Bluefield Douglas. Okay? So he served as a clerk in the statutory office Klang, and it seems he was a very efficient officer, and he also acted as a state treasurer for Selangor on several occasions. Okay? What is the signature of Tamboosamy Pillay? Actually, I didn't get this signature. It was given to me, shared to me by Megan Jude. No? So it's very interesting to see a very cursive style of signature, and then only a person who's highly educated would sign like this. Am I right? So compared to Lokyu and the others, okay, that shows that Tamboosamy is highly educated. And then, very interesting, in 1889, Tamboosamy Pillay resigned from government service and ventured into mining activities together with Lokyu. Okay, why? Because while he was in government service, he always comes into contact with all these Chinese applying for loans and etc. So he and the Chinese also relied on him to communicate with the British officials. So the contacts were built. It's like what you see now, isn't it? A lot of people who work in government, once they retire, they go into become advisors in companies, etc. So he was very smart. So that's how he moved into a business with Lokyu. And Lokyu also needed him to prosper. because with his English knowledge and that, he could communicate with the British officials, loans, and all the applications could be approved easily. Okay. And as you know, he later became a government contractor involved in road construction, as well as a plantation owner, mine operator, and property owner. So British also, needed his service to bring in workers from India. So he went to India to bring them, and then that's where you find that the police were brought to build railroads and also roads in Kuala Lumpur, linking other parts of KL and Klang and elsewhere. So now let's move on. Thamboosamy role as administrator as the first part. Okay, so as I told you, it started when he moved from Singapore to Selangor in Klang, and he was appointed as chief clerk and acted as the state treasurer of Selangor on several occasions. Now, this appointment was given to him by J.G. Davidson, and it continued under Swettenham when he became resident of Selangor 1882 until 1889. But what I find when I was looking at all these records of Selangor Secretariat files, nothing mentioned about Swettenham on Tamboosamy. Okay, the other guys have written, but not by Swettenham. Okay, but that's a fact. But then he was seen as a very efficient officer. Okay, and as I mentioned, his presence in KL was largely due to the government's urgent need for clerical staff who were proficient in reading and writing English. Okay, as I mentioned, he's from Raffles College, highly educated, and J.G. Davidson knew that he's good. That's the reason he brought him to KL, and that's how he started his career here, and then he became a prominent figure in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, and then interesting, he was responsible for approving budget allocations for the development of Kuala Lumpur. As you know, when the British intervened in 1877, I think efforts were made to develop Kuala Lumpur as a mining town and also commercial crops. The early crops which were carried out here was gambir, coconut, and coffee. Coffee was important. So, and also indigo. Okay, these are the more. Rubber only came in the early 20th century. At this time, this was the main commercial crops, and tin was another important product of this in Kuala Lumpur. And then there are one or two cases which I saw in the National Archives, in the Selangor Secretariat files, on 20th June 18. It is to reflect, to show that how efficient or Tamboosamy is a man of integrity, who always believed that he should not accept a bribe and etc. It was said a Chinese businessman named Chan Si-Fuk applied for $600 of loan from the state treasury. The individual met Pillay at his house to seek assistance, and later he visited him at his office. So, he wanted Pillay to speak to his resident to expedite the approval of the loan. So, but he felt that this Chinese gentleman is pushing him to approve the loan, and he brought this matter to state treasurer. And then this is a quotation I took from the Selangor Secretariat file. He said, about 10 minutes ago, the man came to see me again in my room in the office, told me I should assist him in getting the loan. He would give me some belanja. At that time, so the belanja was used, the word belanja. Belanja means giving bribe. No? So this incident demonstrates Tamboosamy was a firm and trustworthy administrator who carried out his duties with integrity. Okay? So that's the reason he was appointed acting state treasurer of Selangor on several occasions. Okay? Pillay also, and also another thing you also need to know that while Pillay was a good, excellent administrator, he also moves around well with British officials in Kuala Lumpur. And then he was one of the founders of Selangor Club in 1884, which provided him with opportunities to establish close relationship with British officials. So this background is important because of this relation later when he resigned and moved into business, everything moves easy for him. Am I right? He knew all of them. So they could approve his application when he ventured into commercial business and also mining. He was also working closely with Lockheed to own many mines in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, he was active in the club's committee. In this capacity, he frequently attended British officers at Tiffin gatherings held at his residence at Water Road. Okay, this is actually a picture of showing all these British officials, leaders of Kuala Lumpur, taken in front of all government office. So number 3 is this is Tamboosamy Pillay. Okay, the number 5, I think the numbers are given here. Okay, number 1, Raja Laut. It's Raja Laut. Have I missed? This Raja, this Yap Aloy, yeah? And then Raja Laut, then number 2, then he's Raja Laut, the leader of the Malay community. Tamboosamy Pillay, the leader of Indian community. Okay, and then you have Shair. Shair is the chief police in KL, number 4. Number 4, okay, Shair. And then you have Abdin Bellamy. You have the name Jalan Bellamy in Kuala Lumpur. So all these are important figures. They all are administrators of Kuala Lumpur, land office, chief, PWD, magistrate. All these departments already formed in Kuala Lumpur in the early 1880s. Without that, Kuala Lumpur would not develop. Okay, this picture is important. This is another picture. Showing that Tamboosamy gave lunch party at his house at Batu Road. There were 36 officials attended the lunch function. 36 if you count all in. So that shows how influential is he among the British circles. Until he, not once, many occasions he gave lunch at his place. This is residence at First Mile, Batu Road. Okay, so that's briefly first part of his role in as administrator. And the most important, that his role in the Kuala Lumpur Sanitary Board. The Kuala Lumpur Sanitary Board was formed in 1890, but Tamboosamy became a member in 1895. Okay, why Sanitary Board is important? Because once Kuala Lumpur, earlier, as you know, Kuala Lumpur basically was in the hand of Yap Aloy. He single-handedly, developed Kuala Lumpur and etc. And then British felt it's important they get involved in developing Kuala Lumpur. That's the reason why they had State Council 1877. Now you have all the others come into play. So any policies could be conveyed, to the people. Okay, and then here they felt a special body has to be formed to look into the development of Kuala Lumpur. So as you see now, we have TBKL. Okay, Kuala Lumpur is a forerunner for that, established in 1890 with the aim of making Kuala Lumpur self-reliant and improving the efficiency of administration. So Thamboosamy Pillai became a member of board in 1895, and he had a special responsibility addressing several important matters, ensuring these are the role remained to make sure KL remain clean, sanitary, assisting in tax collection, street lighting, ensuring shops were constructed in orderly manner, supervising markets, waste disposal, etc. Prior to that, things were not organized. So now you need. And then he was appointed as a member of Electricity Committee Board. They appointed many boards at that time, one of it to name the streets. All the streets which we have now started with that, where there was a committee to name, committee to make sure, where to use the shore. Okay, committee of waste. So many committees were formed. Okay. This photo. This is called, I don't know. It's Blufffield. It's Bukit Aman now. Okay, and these are the coolies, just to show that the early period of Kuala Lumpur. And as you know, the British would like to build, and later this became why Bukit Aman, and it's always above. Okay, British would not build in a lowland, in a highland, above the ground, because they realized that the reason birch was killed is all, so when you have in a high, easy to look down and immediately you could maneuver people, mobilize to suppress any uprising. Okay, so later I was told that Shires, the police chief Kuala Lumpur took over here, and then this barracks all belongs to the police force, which was formed in 1880s. Okay, this is Bangunan Sultan Abdul Samad, the new government office under construction in 1895, the Selangor Club in the right forefront. Okay, that's briefly the first part, Thamboosamy as administrator. So firstly that, he was a senior clerk, and then he was also treasurer. And then the second part was his role in the sanitary board in 1895. This was crucial. And the second part, we are moving into his role as a capitalist. So as you know, he left the government position in 1889 after resigning from government office. And then the first task he took was to involve in road construction in Kuala Lumpur. Most notably, the construction of the road linking Kuala Lumpur Rawang, 1892, and the road connecting Kuala Lumpur with Kuala Kubu Baru, 1894. So how it was done, he was sent to India to recruit Indian laborers. Okay, he could do that because he could speak Tamil. And also at this time, the British also formed later the Tamil Immigration Fund, 1907, later became South Indian Labour Fund in 1908. Okay, this was body formed to bring in laborers from India. Okay, according to Galit, the construction of these roads contributed significantly to the development of Kuala Lumpur and led to an influx of labor from the outside city. And then we find that Thamboosamy, because he was closely linked with Lok Kiew and also others, and he started to apply land to cultivate coffee, and also to own tin mines. Okay, these are the information. He owned 500-acre coffee plantation in Selangor, and then in 1893 applied 5,000 acres of land. Okay, and Thamboosamy Pillay also became a member of Selangor Planters Association in 1893. This is important because Selangor Planters Association, which was formed to convey the grouses of planters, because there were many regulations came into place, and these planters felt that they should demand from the government to make sure regulation should favor them. Besides that, they also need loan, to go into business. So that also the government stunted at the moment. And it's another interesting, but also at this time, the Planters Association, even in 1890s, already insisted they should have a legal body here in Malaya, in the Malay states, to look into their cases. Any legal matters, they want their, people from UK to be brought here. And then it was succeeded in 1904 or 1905. Okay, so that means the association is so powerful. And then there were only two locals in this association, Lok Kiew and Thamboosamy Pillay. So the British wouldn't allow so many. So that shows how powerful they were. So he began partnership with Lok Kiew, a well-known mining entrepreneur during the late 1880s, actively involved in mining ventures. Okay, and you find that Lok Kiew also expanded into large-scale mining, supported by capital contributed by Pillay and the Chettiar community. And we also need to know, at this time, Chettiar were also another community were prominent in Kuala Lumpur. One individual is named S.A. Chalapi Chettiar, Salapai Chettiar, So, and then this Thamboosamy Pillay introduced this Salapai Chettiar to Lok Kiew, and then you find that he borrowed a lot of money. At that time, the bank were not forthcoming in loaning money, so that's where the Chettiar played an important role, and it could happen because of relationship cultivated by Thamboosamy with the Chettiar community in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, and these are some of the figures to show that the lands owned by Tamboosamy Pillay in Kuala Lumpur. He also founded the New Rawang Tin Mining Company together with Lokyu. So these are some other information where they applied for mining land all over Selangor. Okay, how many acres they had in Selangor and Klang. Okay, and you find that whenever they applied, this Mrs. Cumming is an officer, wife of a British officer, but nobody mentioned who exactly this woman. I couldn't find. No, so it was said these three individuals, that is Lokyu, Pillay and Cumming, are so prominent. That's why this district officer seems to have stated very clearly these three individuals constitute a very strong syndicate, and they are respectively the leading European, Chinese and Tamil miners in the state, men of capital and enterprise. And if the land were to be given to anyone, it should be given to them. So that means they are strongly supporting the application. That shows they have a prominent position and in the state. Okay, that's all about Tamboosamy role as a capitalist. Now let's move on his role as a philanthropist. We find that Tamboosamy contributed to three communities. First, the Indian. Second, the Malays. And also he also helped the Europeans when they had financial difficulties. The first, I think, to look at the problem faced by Indian community. As you know, he as an Indian, he has a heart for the community, and especially when the Indians came to Kuala Lumpur, they were working in the public works department, etc. They were suffering from being paid less and etc. So that's where he at times fight for better wages for them, and also any other problems that he conveyed to the British officials. Okay, and then as I mentioned earlier, he brought Tamil laborers, and also he became a justice of peace for Kuala Lumpur prison in 1885. At this time, it was quite common that they appointed, as I told you, a leader among the community to visit jail, to look into the problem faced by the prisoners among the community. So at this time, the Indians in prison had problem of, they were not well treated. They had, many other issues. So all this will be conveyed to the British officials so that action could be taken to rectify that problem. Okay. And another thing is that, as I told you earlier, at this early period, the British attempted to introduce Western medication, and you find that the locals were not receptive. So this is where he had a role to play, to go down to ground, to explain to them the need, to visit hospital. So you find that it became successful. Okay. Okay, in the Selangor Annual Report 1893 clearly states that Tamil was said to be reluctant to go to hospital because it was overcrowded with Chinese. So Thamboosamy Pillay is said to have a tentative proposal for the establishment of a ward for Tamils, and he would bear the cost, which amounted to 3,000. But I didn't see any record shows that it succeeded. But the fact that he tried shows that he was sympathetic to the cause of the Tamil laborers in Kuala Lumpur. Okay. And this is also interesting. Thamboosamy Pillay also attempted to establish a settlement for the Indian community in Kuala Lumpur in 1900. So Thamboosamy Pillay is one Indian who regularly attended sanitary board meeting compared to other Indians who came after him. He was Dorasamy Pillay. Dorasamy Pillay also is a well-known figure in Kuala Lumpur. He is not considered disciplined. He hardly attend meetings. So he missed out all these points raised by Tamboosamy Pillay. So if he would have continued, today there would have been a Indian settlement, Kampung Baru India in Kuala Lumpur. So now we have Kampung Baru Melayu, isn't it? Okay, but we don't have Kampung Baru India. So you see that Tamboosamy Pillay had a foresight. That's important to have a settlement so that later the Indians will decide to settle in Malaya. Okay. The proposal received the support of the resident, but it was not continued by other Indian members of the sanitary board after Pillay's death in 1902. Okay. Pillay died in a young age, 52. Not only him, even Malay died only when he's 48, isn't it? Many died young age. I don't know, might be because of sickness or no strong immunity, I guess, at that time. So Pillay also contributed to the construction of the Mariamman temple. As you know, we still have the temple, Jalan H.S. Lee. Why it was built, as you know, when the Indians came here, they always need a temple to do the prayers and etc. So to carry on their religious duties here, the temple initially belonged to the family. Later, in 1920s, it was open to the public. And Pillay also promoted Batu Caves as a religious center for Lord Murugan. Okay? It is said he has contributed 150,000 for the development of this temple. But there are also some people saying that he founded Batu Caves, the temple. Not really. I think the temple already there. He only promoted the temple. I don't think so. I didn't see any source saying that he was the founder of the temple. Of course, the Batu Caves was discovered earlier by an American, together with Sayers, according to reports in Jim Brass and other sources. But then to make it as a place for, ritual, Tamil rituals, Tamboosamy, etc. I think that only came later, and then he contributed in terms of finance and etc. Okay, and then Pillay also contributed to the development of Tamil education. His house on Batu Road was converted into a school to teach the Tamil language to the children of laborers living in Kuala Lumpur. And as you should know that Tamboosamy Pillay school only came later in 1906. Okay, so he only made his house as a place to teach the Tamil language. And also because he has good relations with other races, you find that he was also kind-hearted. He was willing to help the Malays, the Malay community. It was said, this is from Selangor Journal. And if you want to know a lot of information about Selangor history, beside annual report, another important source you have to refer is Selangor Journal. Actually, it has been published by Galik in 2007. It's a very good one. It has all the topics which covers. And then, so I gathered this from there. So it was said that he presented gifts such as coal rings, livestock, including chickens, etc. And also spices for wedding ceremonies and other occasions. So he was well liked by the Malays because he understood Malay customs and tradition. So very interesting. A guy in the colonial period understood the culture. So that's the reason why he was well received by the Malays. Not only the ordinary Malays, I believe the Malay aristocrats. And you also find that at that time there were also, he was kind to give financial assistance for the construction of St. Mary's Church, and then the $1,100 towards the construction of Victoria School. And he provided financial assistance to British official named Spence Moses, as recorded in Swetham's writing. Okay, what I can conclude that Pillay died in 1902, a young age, but he demonstrated his capabilities as administrator, entrepreneur, leader of the Indian community, and philanthropist. Then when he died, interesting, Frank Saturnam, the Resident General, sent a special vessel yacht to bring his body back to Selangor. All expenses were covered by the government, and his funeral was attended by people of all races. This clearly shows the respect of the British had for his contribution. So I would conclude that he was not only an individual contributor to the early development of Kuala Lumpur, but also played a role in the fostering harmony in multi-ethnic society. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Siva, for that lovely talk. Very insightful. I would like to open the floor to questions. If anybody would like to ask questions to Prof. Siva, anyone? Yeah. Please. Yeah.
There are a lot has been mentioned about Thamboosamy Pillay, but what about his family? There's no mention about his family background, his immediate family, his descendants, and so on and so forth. Is there any insight into this?
Yeah, can I? Use this one.
His family, he has 7 children, 4 boys and 3 girls. Okay, And then their ancestors are still here. I think they are in Kuala Lumpur. I've also contacted them. But I don't think so they have much information about Thamboosamy Pillay, in terms of historical, but they do have. Of course, they also appeared in social media. At times they say that he was a founder of Batu Caves and etc. So I'm not very sure, because you have to dig up the historical sources to get the information. So that's it. He has 4 boys, 3 girls, and then one of the son was quite a prominent figure in Kuala Lumpur, but then it was said he lost a lot of properties in 1920s. He was not as thrifty and careful as his father. That's written by some of these writers' colleagues in his books. That's all I know about him.
Okay.
First, Prof, thank you. Sorry if I'm going to be too inquisitive. 2 ethnic Indian groups came into Malaya. There was Sri Lankan who came into admin. So is he Sri Lankan origin or Indian, South Indian origin? When Indians, we generally say ourselves now, there were Sri Lankans who came those days, like my father did, as administrators and so on. So he's from Singapore born, but are his origins, roots in Sri Lanka or in South India? Sorry to be
The origin is, of course, definitely Sri Lanka, isn't it?
Malaysia.
Tamils from Sri Lanka who came here.
Was he Sri Lankan or?
Who? Tamboosamy Pillay.
Yes.
Tamboosamy Pillay is not a Ceylonese. It's a Tamilian from
Okay,
South
that's
India.
what I'm trying to
No,
clarify.
I don't think so. He's a Ceylonese.
Okay,
It's a
there are
Tamil.
some other things.
No,
One
it's a
is,
Tamil. It's a Tamil.
there was a KL prison. Where was it located before Pudu jail? You said in the text.
I think it's the Pudu. Am I right?
No, I
No.
think there was somewhere else. Or is it the Pudu jail
I'm not
that was the
very sure.
KL
I'm not
prison?
sure. Have you,
During the 18 something.
the Pudu,
Because I'm just trying to know whether it is the Pudu jail that is being referred or whether
I think as far I know, it's the Pudu.
Pudu jail.
The first one.
which was later built as a Pudu jail.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, the next one is in the presentation, they built the road KL to Rawang,
Yes.
then KL to KKB. Was it because Fraser's Hill was developed? Because they used to go up the hills.
Yeah, but I
So
think that
British-
is later. Brazil came in the 1920s, I think. The reason is Kuala Lumpur, I think, is important as a
It's
time.
the biggest town before Fraser's
And
Hill.
also because of tin.
Okay.
Tin. Basically, this was tin. The hill station came
KKB
later.
only.
Yes. Hill station came later, I think, 1920s, early 20th century. This was
Fine.
1890s and 1880s.
Okay, Prasiva, are you a KL born or?
I was born in KL, but I
Okay.
was raised in Rao Pahang.
Okay, because the school where I finished my Form 6, BI, all our sports houses names are named after the pioneers.
Yes, one of it is Tamboosamy Pillai.
Yes,
I know.
also Yap
Yeah.
Pan Singh, Lokyu House,
Correct.
and so on.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Sorry. Yeah.
Was she so the title of Sir?
Was he bestowed the title of Sir by the British Empire?
No.
Okay.
No, he was not bestowed the title of Sir.
Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Well, just now I follow with great interest about the welfare. For example, I was told by my mom, I was delivered by midwife those days. So there is a Chinese maternity hospital back to the early years, where there's hospital for the European and also a hospital for the Chinese people. Then the Malay, because they're afraid of the gender thing, they always have this bidan, right? How about for the Indian community? Is there a hospital?
No, I don't think so. There's no specific, for Chinese, the Tun Sin, am I right? Tun Sin Hospital. Yes. Yeah. And for the Europeans, the Bangsa Hospital. was bell for them.
Hi, Prof. I have a few questions. First, it seems like he was he was educated, and then it seems to me it's a rare how should I say because it's rare back then to receive education, especially in Raffles institution. Was his family, I mean his parents and all that?
And that part I really don't know. I didn't get any information. When you read, you see, let me tell you, there is when I did research on Thamboosamy Pillai, I see most of you would like to know why I worked on Thamboosamy. Actually, my interest not on Indians, I worked on colonial history, British, 19th century. So this is basically when someone approached me to work on Thamboosamy Pillai. So it led me to go and dig up. And then what are the sources on Thamboosamy Pillai? You have writings by Galik. The only individual who writes about Thamboosamy Pillai is Galik, and then you have in Selangor Secretariat File and Selangor Journal. These are the main sources. So when you look at all these sources, it doesn't deal about the early background. They move immediately from 1875 when he came to Selangor with J.G. Davidson. And then you find that after that J.G. Davidson himself lost because he was only 1 year as a resident in Selangor. After that it was taken over by Wilfred Douglas. And the reason was he was insensitive to the Malays and etc. I don't know. I didn't go and research on J.G. Davidson. But then the fact that his relationship with J.G. Davidson, how close and etc. is only mentioned in writings. We don't know beyond that. So I didn't have a chance to look at that. Might be it's available somewhere. I don't know.
And then the second question is just now, Prof, you mentioned about he proposed Indian settlement
In Kuala Lumpur, yeah.
In Kuala Lumpur. If it was like where would it be? Like where was the proposed site?
Well, that one I'm not very sure. I mean, somewhere where there's more Indians are concentrated. It might be in Sentul. Might be. I'm not very sure. Okay. Because it only mentioned he proposed, but then it was not followed by the others, especially Thamboosamy Pillai.
Okay.
And actually, for all of you all, Thamboosamy Pillai is also a very prominent figure in Kuala Lumpur. He owned many sawmills, and also a rich guy, also owned tin mines. And as you know, he was also supplying what do you call bakau. Bakau in English you call mangrove, because I think you need to build the sleepers and then to operate the railway because you need the wood. Am I right? That was the so you see, it's mentioned in this book. You must read Bygone Selangor by Rimba. This is a book written by British officials in 1920. He mentioned he owned sawmills, but he didn't know why he owned sawmills, because all this comes from because he leases all the jungles. The British give him because you need the wood to operate the railway. Interesting, isn't it? So you have to go and further do research on that. I'm curious to know, but then it will take time. Then you will know there are many individuals that played a role in Kuala Lumpur. They only mention in passing, but very interesting to know that the leases of the jungle was given to cut and then to work on it. Yes.
If I can take the liberty to go back to one of Dr. Siva's slides, the one with the signature. Can we just go back to the one with the signature, right? So yeah. When I saw this signature, just go back. I think.
Yeah.
Next one, I think. After that, yeah. Okay. Okay, this is the one. Now, if you look closely at this, right, I can see Lok Yu there. Can see Lok Yu in Chinese and also, right? I think this is that Tambidola?
Yeah.
Looks like Tambidola, right? This one I can't really make out. Sorry? Yap Kon Sing, yeah? Yap Kon Sing. But look at the one with the finest handwriting. Finest handwriting, which I think is a testament of how highly educated he was, yeah? And what is also interesting is that we always get confused how to spell his name. So I think this is unequivocal evidence that this was how he himself spelled his name. Very interesting. Can you go back to the Q&A? Yeah. So I think there was a question at the back there. Sorry.
Okay, thank you for the wonderful presentation, Professor. I have one question. Okay, how prominent is your role of the Chettiar in financing the tin mining at that point of time? And who else are competing against these Chettiars to finance the tin mining?
Who else competing with
Yes, right. So, is there any other business entities or other business communities that's competing with these Chettiars to finance the tin mining?
No, it's only the Chettiar. In fact, I've written a book on the Chettiar role in Malaya, published by UM Press. There's a chapter on all those Chinese who borrowed from the Chettiar. There's so many. And it all started with Tamboosamy introducing all these prominent figures. Besides this Salapa Chetty, there's Palanyapa Chetty, many. And they also borrowed the small holders. Okay? So that's the main, because banks were not forthcoming to give loan at that time. So Chettiar were willing with a high rate of interest. And then they were willing. Okay, so mainly it was Chettiar. Okay. It's a fact. I think you have to read my book to see. I can't name so many of them. Okay. In fact, I bought the book.
Oh,
so, I have a book. We have to look. There's a whole chapter on who, how much has been loaned to the Chinese. So that's one history nobody knows, the relationship with the Chinese with Chettiar in Malaya. Okay.
Prof. Siva, if I may ask, so just to clarify the correct spelling of
I would like to. Actually, the correct spelling is that what PA again.
It's fine.
That's a signature. Unfortunately, this is something I must tell. I myself find when I look at the primary sources, everybody seems to be spelling his name wrongly. PH. Actually, it's Tamboosamy. I don't know why. In fact, British officials themselves have written wrongly. And then you find the Tamboosamy Pillay, which was established in 1906, PH is not PA, which I don't understand. It was an early period of British rule in Malaya, isn't it? Somebody should have corrected. And I also see in the primary sources, it's spelled wrongly, BU. In fact, you find that when my paper with the flyer and all that is THA, am I right? THA, not PA. So, but now when I look at the signature, because I didn't have a chance to see this when Vacancy showed, then I realized that is exactly his name should be. If he's alive now, what he would have felt. Sorry to say, people could not get his name right. But that is exactly his name, Tamboosamy Pillay. There are some records have given it right, but most of it wrong. In fact, Garlic, who's the main writers, writings in 1960s until 2007, has got his name wrong. He Tamboosamy, not B-O, Tamboosamy. So I don't know why. Okay.
Prof, I've got a second question. His house was in Batu Road, Jalan Tunku Abdul Rahman.
Yes.
I noticed there is a house that resembles that house in the picture behind Wisma Safwan Jalan Raja Alang, and also behind the Jalan Tunku Abdul Rahman, which was where the Goons institution used to be. Goons.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether it's the same building or it's somehow the same type of building built during that time.
No,
do you know?
No, I didn't do any research on that, so I can't be sure on that.
Can you share with us when Tamboosamy Pillay died, right? Which property or which land in Kuala Lumpur belonged to him? Or when he died, he gave everything to the Indian community. Because you see, we look at Ya Allah, we look at Loku, all of them have wealth. I'm sure Tamboosamy Pillay at that time, he's also rich. And I'm sure at that time, he do invest in land. He do invest in property. So is there, what was his property in KL that belongs to him?
this is all based on my reading, by Garlick and Hawkins in a chapter called Pioneers of Kuala Lumpur. It says in 1912, when he died, there was a property in Kuala Lumpur was sold for 369,000. So that shows how rich is he. And then all these properties was later handed over to his son. But it seems that he was not able man, so many was sold off, and then properties meaning to say land as well, buildings, because he also owned a lot of buildings in Kuala Lumpur. So it was not well taken care. It lost hand. That's what I gather from reading.
Yeah, we'll
But
take,
you need to gather this from his families to get more information.
so we'll take a few more questions, but don't forget to scan and give your feedback. There's only 2 questions, whether you like the content and speaker, whether it's well organized, and there's a free text for you to give comments. Yeah, thank you.
Just now, Prof, in your slide, you mentioned the temple, Mariamman temple was his own land, right?
That's
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes.
those were properties, and maybe the house also could have been land he owned.
the gentleman's question is
School also.
no. Later, the children.
School was built later. The Thamboosamy
The school was not built there. It's built at Jalan Sentul. Am I right?
But
It's not,
was it his land?
I'm not very sure. I can't be sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Okay.
The one thing that I like about Dr. Siva is that his work is only based on facts and evidence. So he doesn't go into rhetoric.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever that there is facts and evidence, he'll hang on to it. Otherwise, he will not go there. So any more questions? Yeah. Okay, so if there's no further questions, one more at the back, sorry.
Prof, just a very simple and question, which I'm quite curious. Apparently, people like Lok Yu, I don't think they were as educated as Thamboosamy. Like, how do they actually talk? Like back then, did they use English?
Yeah, it's a good question. When State Council was formed in 1877, the whole meeting was conducted in Bahasa. So meaning that they all could speak Bahasa. Okay, but the Chinese could not speak English. So they had a secretary interpreter to interpret. Okay, and this is a fact. No, they themselves, Lok Yu himself appointed to pay so that he will translate, So during meeting also might be, and in the State Council meeting, they will say somebody will translate. The meeting conducted, but all the documents, all the laws and regulation, all have been in English. Okay? So, but then the meeting was conducted in Bahasa. And of course, all these British officials, most of them could speak Bahasa. That's one of the requirements when they come here. They learn from the case of Birch when he was killed, you see? So it's important to understand Malay custom, Malay culture. They learn from England before they hired here.
Yes.
Okay, it's very
Correct,
important.
correct,
See?
yeah.
They're smart how to rule. British learned that.
Yes.
Okay.
But Tamboosamy Pillay was proficient in English.
Yeah,
He was-
definitely. Otherwise they would not call him
Yes, yeah.
to his house. Am I right?
Yes.
Be a member in Lake Cloud.
Yes, yes.
I know they were very particular whom they would invite. In fact, they invite Raja Board, Raja, all these prominent aristocrats who could speak English, could
Yes,
same lifestyle. I think that's important.
So as Prof mentioned, Dr. Siva mentioned, before the officials came to Malaya, many of them had learned
Yeah.
Malay over there. And if you read Neil Kaur's book on Lok Yu, so he said that even Lok Yu conversed with the British in Malay. So most of the British officials spoke Malay, but Tamboosamy Pillay was the outlier. He was proficient in English. Yeah, right. Right.
In fact, I think if you want to really know more detail about life in Kuala Lumpur, please read Butcher's Social History. There's a chapter he deals about life in Kuala Lumpur, the life of the wives who come here, how they settle, how they mingle with the local, how the locals were treated by the other races, and etc. It's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Just one over here, sir. Quickly.
A social history. J. Butcher.
Okay, as Doctor believe in all things that are factual. So I would like to read you an article that is written in the Records and Recollection, which was edited by Galeg and Robson. Okay? So, the leading Indians, the late K. Thamboosamy Pillai, grew up with the state of Selangor, knew everybody and was known to everybody. He came from Singapore to work under J. Galeg Davison, which you said, and that's Malaya, and the first residence of Selangor in 1875. As I go down, you will stroll further regarding the wealth, okay? He was almost an institution in himself. In later years, he was keenly interested in racing, an interest inherited by his sons. One of them, who is still with us, Thamboosamy Pillai's bank account must have been depleted more than once to help a friend in difficulties. Okay? And a curry tiffin at his house in Butterworth was something to remember. Racial distinction were unknown here in the early days. Thamboosamy Pillai was just as popular with Europeans as with other races. His position in the community was at the top of the ladder. He died about 30 years ago. This was written long ago, okay? The recollection, the records and recollection. So just to verify about how his wealth went about. And this was written.
Yeah, because he wrote after he died. I think Robson published in 1940s or 50s. But he's very right. I think his property was not well managed by his children. I think if you interview their grandchildren, so they will tell. It's very true. That I mentioned earlier when the question was raised.
Anybody else? Yeah, sorry. Okay, so on that note, we'd like to close the session. So don't forget, give your feedback. If you like to donate, we have a gift shop. The KL Discovery Pass is outside. And also do join Badan if you can. And we have 4 more talks the following weekend. Next weekend is a packed event. We have Sultan Puasa Abdullah Hukum in the morning, Clang Wars. Kusalma is a lovely storyteller. You shouldn't miss that one. There's the Lost Kuala Lumpur by Dr. Lim Teck Win and Peter Leong. And then we have Azim talking about KL past, present and future. So a big round of applause to Dr. Siwa. Thank you very much.